Hello, everyone. This is the third day of the Dev Day, so this is going to be almost the last casual track. You find the title in English, but in this session, we are going to discuss about the what type of questions are asked to server engineers in the information sessions. So I'm sure that you are interested in that the what type of topics has been selected for the conversation during the information session. So we have invited the interviewers and also the people who have joined the line recently and asked them what they discussed about that. We are receiving lots of reactions. That's great. And also you can find a Q&A chat box at the bottom of the screen. So if you write down the questions, I don't know if I can pick them up, pick all of them, but we try to answer to the question as much as possible. So let me introduce myself. My name is Watanabe. I am a moderator. I belong to a Line Development 4 Center B2B Platform Development Department, and I manage the groups, also in charge of the definition of the system requirements and also design. So I would like to ask the panelists to introduce their names, affiliations, and also what they are doing. Matsuno is my name. Very nice to meet you. I am the official account manager and also official account development. So I am a senior manager for these two departments. Mostly I oversee what they are doing in these two departments. I also involved in the architecture and also design. Very nice to meet you all. Thank you. All right, going to Matsushita-san. My name is Matsushita. I also belong to Line Development 4 Center, and I belong to CRS development team. Smart Channel is an app, and I developed the server-side system of that app. Very nice to meet you. Then Ishida-san, go ahead. I also belong to Line Development 4 Center. I am a member of DMP Dev team. Line DMP server-side engineer. Very nice to meet you. Okay, so these four will be discussing about the information sessions. So this is how we are planning to do. I was told to write agenda in English. And I checked that how to express the casual interview in English. So they say it's information session, so it's written in green. And also blue font says job interview, and that is a regular interview. So please use the color for understanding whether it is an information session or job interview. So let's start from the what the information session is. And after that, I will be discussing the topics that they discussed during the session. And after that, we will cover job interview. And at the end, we will have a Q&A session. And if you have any question, please write them down in the chat box. We try to pick it up in real time. So let's start. What is an information session? What's the difference between this session and the job interview? Matsuno-san, why don't you start? In case of information session, the line employees provide information for the applicants, and also it's casual, so it's not really official, but more relaxed atmosphere. So the applicants are here for understanding whether they are matching with the enterprise culture or what we are doing. And the job interview is that the interviewer side really assess their features. But as for the information session, we usually have a conversation very casually. How often do you have this session? I personally host only once in a month. It's not that often. The information session, we usually ask the people to come in for the session. And sometimes from the recruitment development, that they introduce people who want to try working at the line. And also at the server side, some people wants to know that what type of job available for them to work. So in that case, we host the information session. Then Ishida-san, you hosted the casual or information session. So how did you come about to come to this information session? So I registered myself to the headhunt site, and they asked me to go to see you in the information session. I think that is usually the context of the information session. So what type of information did you get? And also, how did you think about line? Before I accepted the information session, the line was using Java, so I thought that maybe it is very rigid or very official company. But when I had the information session, I thought it's rather casual. What do you mean that the line is being casual? Well, their clothes, what they are wearing, and also how they develop. And it's not really rigid in the development method. About the clothes, I think I was the interviewer, and I was wearing a very casual clothes. So would you explain a little bit more about how did you think that the development side was not so rigid? The line is a large company, and that's my impression. And I thought that all the specifications were rigid, and every phase they have a very fixed. They have very fixed system to go along, so that there was not so much flexibility, I thought. But now I understand that you can have some flexibility in term development. Matsushita-san, did you go to information session? No, I haven't. So if you had known that there were information sessions that you wanted to go, so yes, I wanted to go. So shall we do it again? So let's go into the contents of information session. What type of topics were selected for this session? So what type of questions are often asked from the applicants, Matsuno-san? Well, it's up to an individual, but I am often asked that Line is a global company, but what language do you use to communicate with peers? So why? Well, it's a global corporation, so do you have to speak English? But the B2B platform development, most of us belong to, we often communicate with the people in South Korea. So between Japan and South Korea, we use the automatic translation services for the languages. Sometimes we use the simultaneous translators. And when we speak to the people in Thailand or Taiwan, we speak English. So I also ask the same question to the people in the same department. Ishida-san, what language do you use usually? All of the members are Japanese, so among us, we usually speak Japanese. But when we discuss with external teams for the development, we try to prepare documents as much as possible in English. Matsushita-san, do you use Japanese all the time? Basically, same as Ishida-san, inside our team, we speak Japanese. But when we communicate with other teams, sometimes we use English, and then the documents are produced in English. So very similar to Ishida-san's case. Okay, in case of Smart Channel, in case of Thailand and also Taiwan, we provide the services, and there are branches in the local markets, so you have to communicate with them. What language do you use? When we communicate with people in other locations, we speak English usually. So in the chat, you use English in the chat box. Yes.
Now, what are the other frequently asked questions? Well, in the first place, the information session. For example, in Line, you may be developing Line's applications or server-side applications, Line News, Line Manga. It's easy to understand what's being developed. Topics are easy to understand. But when we talk about CRS and smart channels, these are not quite easy to understand because these are the words that are used internally. The product names and team names are not easy to interpret what they do, so we need to explain that first. So the frequently asked questions will be planning and development. From what stage developers will be involved for the planning? Yes, that is really asked a lot. Matsushita-san, how do you collaborate with the planning department? When there are new functions being added, we do talk with planning. On the chat tool, as well as Zoom, we have a meeting together with them to decide on specifications. When there are questions, we ask to be able to define specifications. When it comes to specifications, do you have specific requirements in specifications? Sometimes yes, but roughly, sometimes there are a lot of things that they want to carry out. Not exactly fixed language. Mr. Ishida, what about you? Similar to Matsushita-san, sometimes the rigid specifications come first. In other times, it's simply the rough explanation of what is needed. So in that case, we need to work and collaborate with the planning department. We can make suggestions and proposals. There is one question coming up. How much do you do remote working? When you come to the office, do you go to Shibuya office? Line used to be in Shibuya. Currently, we are in Shinjuku. So what about remote work? Matsuno-san. Well, basically, I work from home. Development Full Center, throughout the center, most of the people were working from home. People who have small children at home, not easy to work at home, they can, of course, come to the office. Conversely, there are others who often come to office. No? So I think a majority of us are working from home. Me too. I set up the environment that is easy to work, so it's pretty comfortable staying at home. What are the other questions? For me, I am often asked how to select technologies, the middlewares, for example, middlewares that we want to use. Matsuno-san, do you get this question? Yes, we do. Depending on the team, how much the team get to decide on the tools that they use. In our case, this is a server-side operation. This is a private cloud or on-premise operation. So that will be the assumption. We need to emphasize that during the information session. There are people who need to insist on working on public cloud. We have private cloud and on-premise, the line services. At least some of them depend on them, so we emphasize that. But basically, the workers in our team can work freely. Most of the services work on JVM, so that's the kind of language that we develop in. If you are to develop something in other languages, it causes a lot of pain, and it will be very difficult to fill any short roles. And middleware is provided on private cloud. You can pick and choose whatever that is. But other than that, if you start to use tools that are not that middleware, then you have to be responsible for maintaining that tools. And no one is really want to be responsible for the maintenance of the tools. The middlewares that are offered in private cloud are usually pretty reasonable middlewares. I don't think that is going to cause a problem. So, Mr. Matsushita, you are involved in development, selecting technologies or languages. What do you choose? The product that I'm in charge of are server-side application in Java. Spring Boot has been used in framework, and middlewares that we often use are Redis and SQL and Kafka. How did you select those? Well, there are multiple reasons for choosing them, but the major reason would be that there is a dedicated team of maintenance. So the maintenance will be the major reason for it. Mr. Ishida, how about you? The same question. DMP dev team has similar technology stack. Java, Spring Boot, and middlewares are basically the ones that are provided in the private cloud. Other specific libraries, the choice depends. Development members will choose optimum tools that are available at that time, and that will be shared, and the whole team will get to decide. Thank you very much. There is another question. Depending on the project, you work at different offices. I wonder what server-side projects are promoted by each office. Mr. Matsuno? Now, projects and what office is doing, the specific project office is doing. Internally in Japan, well, we have Tokyo, Kyoto, and Fukuoka. These are the major locations. But there is no division by office, really. Recently in Tokyo, we are located in Shinjuku as well as in Yotsuya as well. So maybe products are different depending on where you are working at the office. You know, recently we are working from home, so it doesn't really matter which office you go to. If you insist to participate in a specific project, sometimes you are the only one who is working from the other different offices than the other members. How did you select the technology selection? Mr. Ishida, I think you had an idea and you introduced a new technology. How did you get to decide on that? If there are specific challenges that we want to solve, the problem that we were not able to solve with current technology stack, we try to explore a lot of technologies that will help us solve those challenges. I do myself a research. I come up with a document and that will be shared in the team and see if the candidate technology will help. It depends on the team. That's what we do in our team. What technology did you choose? Recently, to manage job workflow, we use Azkaban. To choose Azkaban, were there any other competitive candidates? We had DigDag, we had been using, and also Airflow that we often use. These were the other candidates. I see. So you sort of compare merits and disadvantages. You had internal discussion in a team. Yes, try to pick one that is the most fitting to the current system. Thank you very much. Another question I see here is the core time. What are the core working hours? Maybe we should start with the way we work. Matsuno-san, please. Our engineers, depending on the grade, of course, but basically, majority of engineers are working silo work hours. In other words, they can choose their own working hours during the day. But some engineers simply love to work and work too long, so we have to be careful That is the only thing that we need to be careful about. Yes, we are working remotely most of the time. Starting time is okay, but sometimes you don't know exactly when to end, when to finish working. It's a very difficult question. So we have to say we have to stop working after dinner.
Okay, then changing the subject from the information session to the job interview. And you can also ask questions during our session. So let's talk about job interview. So after information session, Ishida-san, you moved on to job interview. What was the flow from the information session to the job interview? So I had an information session. I understood about the overall information about line. So I understand that now what I did in a previous career can be useful for a line job, and also I'm also sure that I can enjoy the work at the line. So thank you very much for what you have just said. I'm so glad that you said that. So what was the steps from the information session to the job interview? Well, standard format is that you introduce yourselves, and we ask them to submit the resume. And I have a job interview with them, and then ask them what you actually did during your career, and try to confirm that what we are requiring is really matching with the skills that the applicant has. So Matsushita-san, you have an interesting career. When you had job interview first, well, you are in my group now, but you didn't really apply for another group, right? Yes, Line Growth Technology. That was the subsidiary of Line, and after I started having job interviews, and the interviewer said that, why don't you work for the Line development team? So yes, I was also asked by the HR that this applicant could be a good match for your development team. So Matsuda-san, what was the context there? I think that the HR team was looking at the career of the applicants, and we are developing our advertisement in our department. And I think that Ikebe-san, the president of that subsidiary, contacted us. Matsuda-san's prior company, the same as my prior company, so he thought that maybe the culture-wise good match. So at the last stage of job interview, I was there and I talked to him. I thought that he could be a very good match for us, so I asked him to work for us. So Matsushita-san, were you surprised? Yes, I was surprised the first time that I could be working for a different company, even though I applied for the subsidiary. So now you join the company, you are working in Line. The impression that you had before and how you feel now, is it the same? Ishida-san, not much discrepancy between my impression and real job. I started learning that there are so much varieties in the employees of Line, and I'm very much impressed. At the time of job interview, I thought that there were so many very serious engineers, but now I understand that much more diversity even in engineer types. So Ishida-san, you joined the company in February this year. So that was a timing that we were about to work from home. So first I was a bit concerned that if it could be mingled with other people. So first 1 month, I was working with other people, but now 100% work from home. So, but all the documents are well created. So I could solve most of the problems on my own, so it was very helpful. So when you communicate with other member of your team, how do you do that? In my team, every morning we have a huddle meeting, and a team member get together every morning and report about the progress of their work and things that they're working on. And other than that, we use Slack, and sometimes we host a Zoom meeting too. You joined Line and you have many senior employees. Any request to change the current way of working? It's a bit difficult. Sorry, but I was talking about that, so I just asked you that question. Matsushita-san, anything you want to change? It's difficult to say. I can't think of it right now. Recently, I was told that don't change the background screen while you are hosting a Zoom meeting. So now time is running out. Another question came in. So when you hire a new developer, what is the important criteria? Is that the technical skill or people skill? Matsuno-san. So when we hire engineer, technical skill is of course important, but that is sort of taken as a granted. You have to have that technical skill. And you have to have a good communication with the planning team or good communication with other members of the team. So I also look at people's skill too. You need to have both. Yes, communication skill is very critical. Just being good at technology is not enough. Well, the time is running out again, so you have listened to our session. If you are interested in us, next week we are going to have an event, right? Yes, next Saturday, Tech at Line, online career fair will be held. And the host of engineers will be coming to talk about what they are doing. And that's going to be an all-day long career fair. So you can come in and then watch as you wish. And myself and then Watanabe-san, the moderator today, will be appearing this Tech at Line online career fair. So please come to this career fair. Please search them. So lastly, I would like to ask you to give your last message. I hope that many people will apply for our company. So Matsushita-san, please. Well, Line has big traffic in its service so that you feel so good to work there as an engineer. You feel a sense of achievement. Well, even though your career is not 100% matching with the requirements of the job, that at least you should have some information sessions. Then Matsushita-san, go ahead. The information session is very casual, so just come in and talk to us. Okay. I really want to talk to many newcomers. So if you are interested in our job, please come in. Thank you very much for staying with us until the end. Bye.